a breaking news story to file under "Our leaders are literally practicing witchcraft." Floyd Mike Miles, the Greg Abbott appointed superintendent in the hostile state takeover of Houston Public Schools, is now selling magic wizard rings. Now, to fully appreciate this story, I need to take you back to 2023, early in the state takeover, when people started to notice that Mike Miles was always wearing a purple ring on a cord around his neck, and he started talking about it in closed door meetings and then one time at a school board. And I broke this story on TikTok that he believes he has a magic ring that lets him see the future. This clip is taken from a live recorded school board meeting, and the image you're seeing is the slide he chose to put up for the board.
But first, a prediction. If you don't know, that's my prediction ring. It's a long story, but that's why I'm able to predict things so well. This ring right there.
So those of us who've been fighting the state takeover for the past 3 years have known that Mike Miles is delusional and lives in some sort of cottage religion in his mind that he's invented. And a source I'll call D, who was investigating all of Mike Miles's financial holdings, because we will make sure this man's held accountable for the kids he's harmed and the millions he stole. And it piqued D's interest when he noticed that last year, Floyd Mike Miles filed with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for a business called Rings of Navarre. And that business will sell you magic wizard rings. Now, there is a disclaimer right up front on the site that says these are not the real rings of power. They're replicas of the real rings of power, of which presumably Mike Miles has one. But there's a great deal of lore on the site, which I took the liberty of reading in its entirety, about the wizard Kalos, last of the great wizards, who forged 7 rings to give men incredible powers to do good in the world. Only instead, the rings just amplified people's greedy and selfish tendencies, and the wizard Zemo waged war upon the peoples, and Kalos had to defeat him by making more rings that would bind the evil rings, and then he kept trying to make more and more rings that would only have the power to do good, and somehow by the end of it there's 32 rings of power, but only 5 have been found. And there's 3 ring bearers, Mike Miles included apparently, who wears the rings on a chain around our necks as a sign of hope that the other rings will be found. And maybe you're thinking this is just like a funny, cute side project for Mike Miles that doesn't have any bearing on like how he's running HISD into the ground so badly that now we're facing 12 school closures before the end of the year. But you'd be wrong. Mike Miles's cult religion is deeply interwoven with the way he's managing the schools. From Destination 2035, his plan for Houston ISD, which he published before assuming the role of superintendent in 2023, talks repeatedly about a Navarre point, a term he made up for when a school is stuck in a rut and instead of meaningfully innovative, it just tries to like put band-aids on little problems. And he's recommending that schools at the Navarre point basically be overhauled and gutted. He's now making the decision to close 12 schools that are at the Navarre point, and this is coming from the judgment of a man who's selling some Temu-ass rings that will give you the power to turn back time for $39.99. In that school board meeting I showed you from 2023, he admits that the whole vision he had for the new education system, NES schools, that have tanked enrollment across the district and led to a mass exodus of qualified teachers, he got the idea for that program from his magic ring. Now, last week when Mike Miles had me dragged out of a school board meeting by cops, I don't think he knew that I'm the New York Times and USA Today best-selling author of 5 books, most of them speculative fiction. So first, I just want to say, Mike, your storytelling abilities are fucking garbage. I hope ChatGPT wrote this derivative Lord of the Rings fan fiction, because it is tedious, insipid, and increasingly incoherent as you go along. But it is so ironic that you don't see that in this story, You are Wizard Zemo. Greg Abbott has given him broad dictatorial powers over the entire city of Houston. He can fire anyone in the district with the snap of his fingers, and there's no accountability for him whatsoever until we get Greg Abbott out of the governor's office. The only place this man belongs is sitting behind a booth at the Texas Renaissance Festival, but instead he's been given the power to sabotage the education of hundreds of thousands of kids in the city of Houston, which will, by the way, decimate our economy, drive down housing prices, and destroy the fabric of our city. Oh, and the whole thing's a grift, and he's constantly money laundering millions of dollars of our taxpayer money to his private charter school network. But Mike Miles doesn't realize he's the evil Wizard Zemo. He thinks he's Navarre, which if you read to the end of his lore, you find out where that name comes from. It's this character from the 1985 cult classic dark fantasy movie Ladyhawke. This is who Mike Miles thinks he is. So I'm going to take one here for the team, guys. Mike, if you're watching this, I will play Dungeons and Dragons with you, and you can be a human ranger with animal handling proficiency and a pet attack hawk. And I will weave a mind tapestry for you where you can battle the evil Wizard Zemo, and I'll even bully my friends into playing alongside you. If you just step down from your post and leave our schools the fuck alone. But we may need to wait to start our campaign until after your sentence is over, because like I said, we are gonna get you arrested for all the fraud and corruption and money laundering and civil rights violations that you're guilty of. Now, to help the good people of Houston take down the evil Wizard Zemo, I have a couple asks from you. Number one, if you know Christians who care about witchcraft and dark-sided shit, please send them this video. Isn't this the definition of like dark-sided witchcraft? He's selling magic wizard rings. Number two, no matter where you are in the world, you're going to like, share, comment this video to help it go wide because it's long and so the algorithm won't recommend it. Three, if you live in the state of Texas, this state takeover ends if Gina Hinojosa beats Greg Abbott in November for the governor's race. But it's not just enough to vote blue. We need to hold Gina to really specific policy issues because it was Democrats who wrote the legislation that allowed these state takeovers to happen. So Gina has pledged to end the state takeovers, which is great, but we also need her to pledge to make undoing that legislation that allows for state takeovers a top priority. And we also need Gina to be clear and transparent about where her campaign funding is coming from, because we are sick and tired in Texas of having politicians who answer to billionaires and run grifts with our public services like our schools. Next, if you're in the city of Houston, whether you're a parent, a student, or just a concerned community member, come to the next board meeting on March 19th at 5 p.m. Y'all already know I kind of lost my shit at last month's board meeting, and I'm going back this time with friends and more of a plan. And let's just say there's going to be some interesting and maybe fun things that happen at the school board meeting this month. And finally, please join the fight. Follow and support Houston CVPE, Community Voices for Public Education. They are leading and organizing the fight to get Mike Miles out of power and end this state takeover once and for all. They're exploring every possible avenue, including legal, direct action, and with the upcoming governor's election, electoral. They are an awesome, committed, multi-generational, multicultural community of students, parents, teachers, lawyers, and we're all working together to bring this nightmare to an end. If you're not sure what to comment to support this video and help it reach a national audience to humiliate Mike Miles, just comment, "Down with Zemo!"